This is something that makes me really angry and quite upset. And I think it's something that's really wrong with the whole home design and construction industry. And this is a conversation that I had with a homeowner, and this is what they commented to me in a chat. And I want to unpick this and tell you why I feel like this is so wrong, and I feel like this homeowner shouldn't be in this situation. It's not through any fault of his own. And but he should never be sitting in this situation. So what he said was, we're just going through planning permission now. The designs have been agreed with our architect. Design took about a year or more, lots of edits and a couple of meetings. I hope it's okay, right, and affordable. We perhaps should have met 2 years ago. Now, I really do wish that I had met Mark 2 years ago and had been able to help him save this year or more of an iterative design process. That is what this process indicates to me. The design took about a year or more. It's not necessary for a home design to take so long. It should never take that long, really. There are lots of ways to make it much quicker. Now, the iterative design process is the typical process that most architects go through when they are designing any kind of building, and that's because that's the way that we are taught to design. And that's really, it makes sense to design in that way, because the way that this works is that you get as much information as you can to begin with. You create an initial design, then you check that that initial design is right with your clients and against any further information, and then you make any revisions. That should be it. That should be as many design revisions as you need. But the problem comes is that homeowners, again, through no fault of their own, but they are not familiar with working with architects. If you have never worked with an architect before, you do not necessarily know what information your architect needs to have in order to design their best solution for you. Why would you know? If you don't work within construction, you've never experienced any kind of construction project before, and you've never interacted with an architect before, why would you know how to do that? It doesn't, it makes complete sense that you wouldn't necessarily know how to do that. And I have found that in my practice, that it's nearly 14 years now that since I set up iArchitect and started working with homeowners. And in my practice, I have had one client ever who knew how to brief an architect. And the only reason that he knew how to do that was because that was his day job. He worked for a big organization, and he was the contact in the organization who directly worked with architects on the projects for that organization. That's why he knew how to work with an architect. In 14 years, he's the only homeowner I have ever met who had that knowledge. So as architects, we can't expect our homeowner clients to know how to explain to us what they want. And I believe it's up to us to make that possible, to make it easy to help our clients to do that. Now, how do we do that? Many architects do try. I'm not saying that the architect's terrible. Many architects are doing their best. They've just never been taught how to do it. It's not something we are taught how to do. And so what they do is they do their best. They usually have some kind of a tick box thing where you sort of tick down which rooms you have and which rooms you haven't got. And they might say, what do you love and what do you dislike about your home? Tell us that. And they'll have a chat with you and they'll ask you questions and they'll do their best to understand you. But typically you'll have a conversation for 1 hour. Now, 1 hour is just not enough time to get to know you in enough depth to be able to design for you. And that's why I do this very, very differently. So the way that I work, the design should take way less than a year. It typically takes 1, maybe maximum 2 months to get you to a sketch design that you are happy with. Now, or get you to a sketch design that you can really consider deeply, and then it may take you another couple of months to really double checking, getting further information to make sure that that is the right design for you. And then it takes another 3 months or so to actually submit that for planning. So that's about 4, 5, maybe 6 months to go from no idea to a planning application. That is what is possible in the way that I work. It can take a little bit longer if things change. You know, things happen in your life. I've had clients who have had relatives die. I've had clients who have been made redundant partway through a project. So many things can happen which can significantly change what you want from, or what you're able to achieve with your project. So that can then impact on what you do. Or in the process of double checking, I have also had clients who have done that initial sketch design phase, and then they have, you know, not been sure and wanted to take more time, and then daily life has sort of crept in and they've come back to me several years later to continue with the next stage. That can also happen, and that frequently does happen. But it doesn't mean that you have to have an architect working on your design for a year or more. That is just not necessary. But that is what happens typically with the traditional and standard way of finding out what you want and then going through an iterative design process. And so this is why I created another way of helping you. I help you as a homeowner to communicate to me and let me know exactly what you need and want. That is very different. I do it in a very different way to most architects. I don't just give you a little simple checklist. There is a bit more work involved. But the thing is, this is the most important work that happens in your project. And I call it designing your home vision. So it's about you creating a vision for what you want from your home, what you need from your home. That then informs me, and I can then create a design for you very quickly based on that. And that's what this architect working with Mark didn't have. He didn't really have a clear vision. Again, not from Mark's fault that he didn't have a clear vision. Mark, I'm sure, just told him what he was asked, and gave him the information that he could. It was the architect's duty, I believe, to help Mark and help our other, you know, that's what we as architects should be doing, is to help you as homeowners to very clearly communicate what you need. And if we don't understand, or we're not clear, not to base our designs on assumptions or things that we would like personally, but to really make the effort to understand you and understand what you need. So this is where I really, you know, take issue with the way that architecture is delivered, and particularly home design for homeowners. There should be a way of helping you as a homeowner to design your vision, which I do. I have a 5-step, my Eagle method is a 5-step process that takes you through that in a one step at a time, and creates this very clear vision for you that is then very useful, and it helps everything go much faster, helps all decision making much easier. So this is the way that I do it. And then I don't run an iterative design process. I don't go away and design. I actually design with you in a collaborative way. So we sit together and design together. When I say together, I work remotely, I work through the screen. We have a screen share and I draw on the screen share and we talk through the designs at the same time. This is very different. So now Mark is in this situation where he's waiting for planning permission. He will have spent a couple of £1,000 at least to get to this point. But he's not confident. He's not confident that the designs are right for him. He's not sure that they can afford to build it. This is shocking to me. Having a project in, waiting to be approved for planning and not being sure that it's absolutely right for you, and you not being sure that you can afford it. This is, I mean, my heart aches for Mark. I really just think it's terrible for him to be in this situation. And yes, we should have met 2 years ago, and I could have saved him from being in this situation, because it's not okay. It's not okay. If you have a project waiting for planning permission to get approval, you should be absolutely sure that that's definitely what you want. You should know absolutely. There's no doubt that that is exactly what you need, what you want for your home. Not being uncertain about it. There should be no uncertainty whatsoever. And not being sure if you can afford it. Now, that is an interesting question, because right now prices are rocketing within construction. It is very difficult to have a clear idea of how much things are going to cost. So there is some, I can understand that, you know, right now it might be difficult to predict how much things are going to cost once it gets to site. That is more understandable. However, what I do as part of my visioning process, I actually get my clients to set a budget. And with that budget, that is what guides the design. So right now, although typically we would say have a contingency of, say, 10% to cover unknown costs, I would recommend that you increase that contingency to allow for the possibility that costs may have increased between the time that we sketch design and the time that we actually get you to build. Because it does take time. Even with my quicker technique, it can still take 1.5 years to actually get to site as a minimum. So it does take time to do that, but it shouldn't take 1 year or more to get to planning. It shouldn't. Things happen, you know. Life is not perfect. We don't live in an ideal world. Things can take longer, but it doesn't have to, and it shouldn't be standard. So in terms of affordability, right now, I would definitely be recommending that you have a higher than 10% contingency, perhaps 15 to 20% contingency in there, so that you know if costs are different in the time between design and build, that you have some leeway, something in there. And potentially you could also look at a plan B, what you ideally want, and then maybe a lower cost version of that. But yeah, please don't, if you are working with an architect right now, or you're thinking of working with an architect right now, and the way that they work is to have just a half an hour to an hour chat with you and then go away and design. And they've given you a quote and it seems okay, and the quote is for one design and one amendment. Ask them some questions. Ask them, you know, how can they guarantee that that design will be right for them, right for you rather. Now, I can't guarantee that you're going to love my designs, but the way that I work maximizes the chance that you will, as long as you participate in the conversation where we are looking at the sketch ideas and putting together, pretty much designing together, discussing them, altering them, tweaking them, adjusting them, sometimes starting from scratch. That is a conversation, that's a process, a collaborative design process that I go through with my clients. Sometimes, very occasionally, my clients have not understood that, or they're not comfortable in that partnership. And sadly, that a couple of those kind of clients have occasionally slipped through my through the net and have started working with me. If you are not comfortable with talking about what you want and explaining what you'd rather have, then the collaborative design process isn't right for you. If you can't read plans at all, you have no ability to read a plan at all, and you need more time to consider plans, then a collaborative design process where you look at lots of sketch design plans and discuss them. You do need to be able to voice your opinion, and you need to be able to read and understand a floor plan. If you can do that, the collaborative design process is brilliant for you because it's much quicker and it can save you thousands of pounds in design fees, but it also can save you, more importantly, it can save you years or more to a year or more and the rest to actually get to a design that you're happy with. So if you're wanting a much quicker design, go for a collaborative design process. If you are confident in talking about what you need and want, which you will be more confident once you've gone through my Design Your Home Vision process, because you will be super clear about what you need and want. You won't be in that situation where you're thinking, well, we don't know exactly what we want, but we'll know when we see it. I have heard that in the past, and I do not hear that ever now. Since I've implemented this Design Your Home Vision process, where I help my clients to understand what they need and want and communicate that to me, I don't hear that said at all. So that's what I recommend. I recommend that you design a vision for your home and then work in a more collaborative way with your architect, rather than letting them go off and just come back one design at a time. At least ask them to come back with several options at a very bare minimum to do that. So that will then speed up the whole thing and make it much quicker for you. I have a free Design Your Home Vision checklist that you can get hold of, and that will give you the bare bones of my 5-step Eagle method. This is not the full in-depth process, but it's more than you'll get from any other architect. So if you're thinking about working with another architect and you want something a bit more, or you like the idea of designing your home vision, you want a little bit of a taster of what that would be like, then get hold of the Design Your Home Vision checklist. And that's the basis of the collaborative design process that I would go through with you. Don't wait for a year or more to get to a design that you're happy with. Don't have a design submitted to planning that you're not absolutely sure is absolutely right for you and that you can afford. Don't let yourself get in that situation. It's not Mark's fault, but if you've listened to this and you go ahead and go for that option and you discover that in a year or more time you are in Mark's situation, don't blame me. Bye for now.